Welcome to the 35th installment of ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Talk Story. I'm your host, Tiff Wells. With me today, he's a former baseball pitcher, now the owner and operator of Pitching Performance Hawaii. He's also a baseball analyst with Spectrum Sports, and he's also a girl dad. Harrison Kuroda. Harry, welcome to Talk Story.
Thank you for having me. This is always fun. Since this whole COVID-19 pandemic thing, I've seen all of these, and I'm like, dude, this thing is cool. This is awesome, and it's fun. So, my turn.
Your turn. Yes, your jersey. You wore jersey number 20. It only took 15 more before we could get and have you on here. But thanks again for joining us. Now, first off, Harry, you last pitched for UH in 2010. What have you been up to these last 11 years, in a nutshell?
Weird. Just still a lot of baseball. Got done playing, like you said, in 2010. I opened my company in 2016, Pitching Performance Hawaii. So I've been doing that since then. And fortunately for me, after my playing days were done, I was afforded the opportunity to do analyst work for Spectrum Sports, and so I kind of got to fall in love with the game all over again, just from a different angle. But I love what I do. I love watching baseball, of course, but yeah, so that's kind of it. And then, like you said, being a girl dad, March 18th. So that's filled my time when I'm not at work.
All right, let's go way back in time when you first started getting into baseball. So who or what got you into the game?
Who or what? My dad. My dad played Little League. That's where I grew up playing when he was a kid. And so every year, I think until I was probably about 10 or 11, they would always ask me, like, are you sure you want to play this year? Are you really sure? It's not like I was extremely gifted at the game when I was 5 or 6, but I fell in love with throwing the baseball. I fell in love with the feeling that I could get when I was getting people out, not necessarily striking people out, but just being able to touch the ball every single play. And yeah, so that's kind of it in a nutshell. Yeah, I mean, case in point, I wasn't very good until probably age 11.
Were you always a pitcher, or did you play other positions growing up?
Mainly pitching. I kind of teased that from the age of 12 to 17, 18, I was in a 6-year slump. I couldn't really hit. I could throw it. I just couldn't hit the damn thing. And everybody always talks about, right? It's hitting a round ball with a round bat. So, could never hit it square. So, I always loved pitching though. But yeah, I didn't really play too many other positions growing up. I tried my hand in some first base, some left field, but yeah, I was no good.
Besides baseball, what other sports did you play growing up?
Played soccer until 9th grade. But that was more kind of a way to springboard myself into baseball. I was, as a young kid, I was crazy. So my parents needed something else to put me in when it wasn't baseball season. And soccer was it. But yeah, I played that until 9th grade. I actually played 1 year of high school soccer, and then that was all she wrote.
Is there one funny, one embarrassing story you have playing baseball growing up?
Growing up, not too many growing up. I just remember being pretty bad. I remember not being able to catch the ball consistently until I was like 8. So, I would always be hiding in right field. So, not anything too crazy. I know there's a lot of falling down on the bases just because I'm not a very good runner. But yeah, I mean, I guess my very first day at UH, I did throw up at morning weights because I thought first day of weights was going to be super easy. So I ate a McDonald's McGriddle, and that was the last time I ate a McDonald's McGriddle when I was 18 years old, a freshman at the weight room at Stan Sheriff Center.
Oh man. Every time I drive by McDonald's, I'm gonna think of Harry and a McGriddle and never order one as well.
Yeah, and dude, like it was running up the side stairs on up to the ticket booth at Stan Sheriff. Like I didn't even get to the lifting weights part. It was like the warm up part. And so like, yeah, thanks Tommy. Thanks Tommy Heffernan, UH strength coach.
Was it always a baseball dream of yours to eventually play in Omaha?
Um, I think that's something more. I think like as a kid, you know, you kind of think that, oh, I'm gonna play in the World Series, I'm gonna play Major League Baseball. But when college baseball was, you know, becoming more of an option, I mean, yeah, of course. You know, when I was in I think I was in intermediate school, I saw Justin Wayne pitch for Stanford, and I saw Shane Comini pitch on TV on ESPN, and that's kind of where it started because you know, I saw two pitchers that were from Hawaii, and it kind of gave me a little bit of perspective on what's possible. And then especially with Shane, you know, being another not super physically gifted, you know, we're both like 5'7", 5'8", and you know, when he was at Nebraska, he was kind of like Pedro Martinez. You know, he was just this little Japanese dude just carving everybody up. And so, so yeah, I mean, obviously now, I mean, I would love. I've never been to Omaha yet. I made a promise to my wife that when Hawaii goes to the College World Series next, that's going to be the first College World Series I ever go to.
I like it. I like it. Now, as we talk about Omaha, of course, you being on the mound, let's throw a hypothetical out here to you. Did you prefer when no one was on base? Did you prefer to pitch out of the windup or pitch out of the stretch?
Out of the stretch. Just because, you know, when I was at UH, I have 2 career starts. Most of my pitching was done out of the bullpen. So, you know, as a reliever, you have to be comfortable with pitching with runners on base. And so that was something that I really took it upon myself just because, you know, I knew that I probably, you know, if I'm in the starting rotation, that's probably because somebody's hurt or people are hurt. So, you know, that wasn't really my forte. That wasn't really my job. So yeah, I was pretty comfortable with pitching out of the stretch. So even with no runners on base, it was always the stretch.
You mentioned your dad earlier, but how supportive were your parents as you grew up playing baseball?
Super supportive. You know, I think the fact that they left it up to me to choose to continue to play baseball is kind of power to them. They never really forced anything upon me, and so I thought like, you know, that style with me as a kid was probably the best because, you know, like I'm not really one. I don't like to get forced to do things. So, but yeah, they're super supportive. You know, again, you know, you don't drive until you're 16 years old. So driving me to practice, driving me to games. You know, even in high school, I live in Aiea. I had to drive to Manoa every single day. And so whenever there was, you know, 7 o'clock morning practice on campus, then, you know, they were always the ones that without hesitation drove me. And, you know, freaking, they're awesome.
2002, you're at Mid-Pacific, you win a state championship. What does it mean to you to win a state title?
At the time, everything. You know, when you're a sophomore in high school, everything. You know, you think after you win a state championship, you're just like, I'm gonna get all the girls now. But, you know, obviously that didn't happen. But you know, it was awesome. You know, a lot of the guys on that team, I actually was fortunate enough to play with them in high school. At UH. So my broadcast partner, Matty Noe, he was my high school catcher for a year. Isaac Omura, Troy Hanzawa, Ricky Bauer. So all of these guys were, you know, we kind of had a little bit of a gang, a little bit of a group. You know, the mid-pack guys that were at UH. So, and they took really good care of me.
When I mention the name Dun Marumaru, what's the first couple things that come to mind?
Legendary, legend. The guy's a legend. You know, obviously this past high school season, there were, no fans, blah blah blah. But I did get a chance to watch mid-pack play on TV, and man, the guy's still doing it. You know, he looks much older than when I was playing for him, but he's still doing it, man. I mean, the fact that he was able to get his team as far as they did in the circumstances that were given to them. Hats off to them. The guy's a staple. The guy's a Hawaii baseball legend.
When you told him that you were going to go and play and pitch for UH, what kind of advice did he give you, and how happy was he for you that you're getting a chance to go and play at the next level?
He was happy for me. He's somebody who is he's very rough around the edges when I was playing for him, and he still kind of is. I think he's a little softer now just because he's getting a little older. But yeah, obviously he was happy for me, for me as one of his players. But I mean, before me, he's had 10, 11, 12 guys from his program go on to play at UH. So it's kind of probably for him, it was probably like, another guy, no big deal. but yeah, super awesome.
What led you to pick UH, and what other schools were looking at you?
What other schools were looking at me? Other than HPU and Hilo, I was an early commit for UH. I think they offered me, official day that coaches could offer me. Chad Konishi, my former pitching coach, called me on the very first day of official recruiting period, and I think I was committed by the end of the week. So I think it was like a Tuesday, and then I committed by a Friday.
Fall semester 2004, you're a freshman at UH. What was the biggest adjustment for you going from high school to college?
I think just learning how to do college. The balancing act that is study hall, class, practice, rehab, just kind of everything that goes into being a Division I athlete. I think you have to figure out, how to section off your time and how to, turn the jets when you have to and pull them back when you have to. So that was the biggest thing. It was just the adjustment of, I just felt like I was on campus all the time and the grind it is. And so, I mean, it's probably different for football and for the fall sports, but the fact that we have to arrive first day of the semester, everybody goes through their physicals and all that. And then we have the entire fall, and then we come back from Christmas break, and then, we're still not playing it. So it's a grind. So that's the biggest thing I had to learn was, just biding your time and getting better.
You redshirted that 2005 season. How tough was it to go through practices, help prepare, everybody else to get ready for the season and during the season, and yet you're not out there as a reliever? How tough was that?
It was tough. Part of that was I was hurt, so I wasn't going to be ready until like April or May anyway. So it was it was decided pretty early on that, just save the year, let's make sure you get better. Let's make sure that, again, you learn how to do college. So I think that was actually kind of fortunate for me, was that I knew that I wasn't going to have to miss any classes because I was traveling or whatever. So, it was actually really good for me. Looking back on it, it's super beneficial. So that's why whenever I get a chance to talk to some of the players and they're freshmen and they're kind of like, oh, I have to redshirt and stuff. I'm like, dude, redshirting isn't the worst thing in the world, because it gives you time. It gives you time to just figure things out and you're that much better for the next year. So yeah, it's a blessing.
The facility you got to play at for, I guess, 5 years, Les Murakami Stadium, formerly Rainbow Baseball Stadium. As a player and now as an analyst, describe for us what it's like to be in a facility in a Friday night game at the Les.
I think as a player, I think it's kind of different just because, when you're pitching out there, I think you kind of have to, I kind of have tunnel vision. I think you talk to a lot of baseball players, they'll have that tunnel vision when they're competing, but now as an analyst and as a fan, I mean, there's no better place, man. You know, I, it's been a rough, I guess last 6, 7 years with the team, but I tell these guys, man, like there is nothing better than playing meaningful baseball in May on a Friday night at the less. I mean, it's bananas. It's so loud sometimes, and I mean, it's the only show in town, right? It's like baseball at its highest form in the state, and so Hawaii baseball fans are crazy about their baseball, and so and that kind of it's kind of like 2009 when we got to host the WAC tournament at the less. Oh man, that was awesome. I was unavailable the first night, but I was in the stands charting, and I'm like, man, this place is going off.
Harry, we do need to take a break right here, so stay right there. Along with former baseball player Harrison Kuroda, I'm Tiff Wells. You're listening to ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Talk Story. Welcome back to ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Talk Story. I'm Tiff Wells with former baseball pitcher, now owner and operator of Pitching Performance Hawaii, Harrison Kuroda. Now, Harry, you talked about that 2009 WAC tournament, having the school be able to host the conference tournament. You mentioned being in the stands during the first night doing charting, but just for the school to be able to host a conference tournament, what did that mean to the program at the time?
Everything. Just because I think 2009 was a really special team. That was Colton Wong's first year. That team was stacked. That was one of the better teams that I played on when I'm at my time at UH, and so I think it was more for looking back on it, I think it was exciting for the fans. I really do. Again, like as a player, you kind of have the blinders on, and you're just going about your own business and trying to get outs or trying to get a base hit. But I really think it was a special year. 2009, 2010, that was a really special year for Hawaii baseball fans in general. And I think I kind of look back on it, and I do talk to my wife about that's kind of the glory days of the 2000s in at UH. I mean, they were Sugar Bowl 2007, 2008 season. That was the Colt Brennan years. So it was just an awesome time to be a UH sports fan in general, but especially for a Hawaii baseball fan that, I'm never going to forget 4,500 people against Louisiana Tech. I mean, we lost. We were the only, if I'm not mistaken, we're the only University of Hawaii baseball team to get walked off at Les Murakami Stadium. Yeah. So that's
which is odd because it's a home team.
Right. So I think that was we just got walked off at our own field. That's kind of wild. So, but yeah, I mean, it was just an awesome time to be a fan of Hawaii sports.
When you came out of the bullpen, or when you had a rare opportunity to start a game, what was your walk-up song or walkout song?
Ooh, there are a couple good ones. I came out to Roxanne by the Police. I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't want anything too crazy and hyped up because my heart rate would just skyrocket, and that's not very good for me and getting out. But yeah, Roxanne by the Police, Supermassive Black Hole by the Muse. What else? I think I came out to one year was a Sublime song. I forget which one. Yeah. But my favorite one was Roxanne by the Police.
You mentioned that 2010 team, and we'll kind of just go through some of the names here. Greg Garcia, P.E.K. Kitamura, Jeff Van Dornum, Connor Little, David Freitas, Lenny Linsky, Matt Sisto, Josh Slatz, Oh, and then there was an All-American by the name of Colton Wong. What made this team so good?
To those guys you listed. um, no, I think it was just like we all got along. I think that was a big thing too. Again, like we're not all best friends, a bunch of 18 to 23-year-olds that are kind of going after the same thing. And yeah, like you said, just the personnel that we had on that team was loaded. I mean, you had David Freitas, big leaguer, Colton Wong, big leaguer, Greg Garcia, big leaguer, Sisto, just all those guys were good. All those guys are good. So for me to be a part of that and for me to play with those guys, I will always remember as something super special in my lifetime. And the fact that, I did get to play with arguably the best defender in all of Major League Baseball. That's pretty cool. I mean, like the guy doesn't only get a gold glove, he gets a platinum glove. So how about that? And it was kind of crazy too, because I remember, like, keep in mind, he picked up playing second base at like 19. He didn't play second base in high school. He didn't play second base. I mean, I'm sure he did as a kid, but like just seeing the beginning of what would end up being an elite defender is just wild to me, because I mean, the guy was just trying to like figure out, okay, left foot, right foot. Okay, how do I get the ball off the run? Which foot do I throw off of? How do I turn the ball? How do I turn the double play? Do I go across the bag or do I go behind the bag? So, I mean, like, I don't know. That's just a testament to the guy, man. The guy is just an absolute stud.
Going into that WAC tournament, though, in 2010, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys are about 500. You're 12-12. Did you guys think you had a chance to run the table in the WAC tournament?
Yeah. Because I think that's just tournament style baseball. Which is kind of weird, right? Because you don't really play tournaments in Major League Baseball, right? There's no such thing as a tournament. But in college, in high school, it's just like we just need to get hot for a week. I mean, we knew how good we were. We knew that in any given time, like we would be good for we'd be good for 9-10 runs in a game, and we knew we had enough pitching. So yeah, I thought that again, like, yeah, record wise we weren't super great, but anybody can get hot for a week.
When Colton Wong hit that walk-off home run against Fresno State, or against La Tech, I beg your pardon, in the opening round game, in the 10th inning, a 2-run homer, where were you and what do you remember about that moment?
I was actually in the bullpen. I was throwing, and it was one of those situations where the coaching staff was like, if this game is tied, you're in. We need you to try and just keep us close. And it didn't even have to get to that, because Louisiana Tech decided to throw to Colton Wong, which is crazy to me. Because like you got to think about the situation, right? It was a man on second. First base was open. The pitcher was right-handed. Colton's lefty, so the matchup sucks. Everything screams walk the guy. Everything, but they still throw to him, and he hits a walk-off home run, and we're just like, oh my goodness, what? Like we thought, okay, they're gonna walk him, and I don't know who hit behind him, but yeah, I mean, he just ended it right there, and everybody was just going crazy, and I think that was like the catalyst, right? So after that, everybody was just like, oh, dude, like, let's keep playing.
All right, let's fast forward to that WAC tournament championship game. You're in the dugout. You guys, I believe, are playing Fresno State.
Yep.
Had you ever seen a ball hit as far as Jeff Van Dornum in that first inning, where they estimated it to have gone 470 feet over the batter's eye in center field? Nope.
I've never seen a ball ever. Well, no, I take that back. I think the year before we got a chance to go and watch a spring training game. I think it was the Colorado Rockies, and I saw Matt Holliday hit a ball over the hitter's eye, and it was like the same exact thing. But again, like that's a big leaguer, you know. The guy that did it was on 2 surgically repaired shoulders and just got absolute extension. That was weird. Like Jeff Van Dornum had the weirdest power because like he wasn't like overly muscular, he wasn't overly athletic, but when he would square balls up, I mean, they would just scream. You know, he would just hit the screws off of the ball. And yeah, I have yet to see a ball hit like that. But the fact that JVD hit a big league home run like that in that situation, and it's nuts. It's nutty to me.
In your family, who's the better cook, mom or dad?
Ooh, I gotta tread this question lightly. Dad. Well, okay, I have to say dad. Dad was classically trained in a kitchen. He, you know, long time ago, he was a chef. But as a kid, a lot of cooking was done by mom, and so you know, dad was busy. As mom and dad's business got more successful and bigger, and they could get a little bit less hands off, then that's when my dad started to get back in the kitchen. But yeah, my parents were really good cooks, really good cooks. And so Ty, if I can do that.
All right, now this one might be a little bit tougher. You or your wife Kelly?
Oh, me, 100%. That's been agreed upon. That's definitely been agreed upon a long time ago. But you know what, though? It was one of those things though that like I got better at because of the pandemic. You know, I think just like because of you know, because I'm at home a lot more. I'm just, you know, trying to figure out and find time and figure out what I'm gonna do with my time. You know, I got decent in the kitchen. I must say, I got pretty decent.
All right, what's if you're making dinner, what's the one meal you're making that she's just going to be like, "Oh my God, this has to be made more often than just once"?
I can cook a mean steak. I can cook a pretty mean steak. I think that's one thing that I've kind of honed in on the last year and a half.
As we look at the roster over the years for UH baseball, you of course wore number 20. Was that always your number, or is there a story behind it? What led you to picking number 20?
It was my number for forever. I think there was a 24 when I was like in 7th grade when I didn't like have a real choice on what number I could wear. But 12 years old, IA Little League All Stars, I was number 00. Then going to mid pack after that. I quickly found out that there's no such thing as 00 at mid pack. So I figured 20, 2 zeros. That's kind of the story of it. And fortunately, when I got to UH, there was nobody that wore it for a few years. And so it was a free number.
We mentioned it earlier, your new business, or at least for the last 4 or 5 years or so, Pitching Performance Hawaii. What is it all about, and how can players get better by using it?
Well, I think it's just more or less some place where, you know, because I think that whenever, especially with pitching nowadays, you know, I think with Little League, youth sports, club baseball and stuff like that, pitching kind of gets pushed to the side. You know, it kind of, everybody wants to hit, everybody wants to take ground balls, and rightfully so, because, you know, you're only allowed so many hours on the field a day. You know, a lot of the time is done with, you know, defense, hitting, situational stuff. But pitching is, you know, my company, I wanted to provide a space and a place where youth players, college players, high school players can all come here and, you know, get some time and, you know, get better. And, you know, I've allotted some, you know, some pretty decent space now just because the company is kind of growing a little bit. And so, yeah, to me, the last 5 years, the one thing that I kind of realized was that I really like working with younger players. I really like kind of doing the foundational stuff, making sure you step straight, making sure you shift your weight correctly, making sure you're doing all of the fundamental stuff correctly. And so that's what kind of I'm about. I know pitching is a lot of bells and whistles nowadays, especially with all of the technology stuff. And, the stuff that's happening in Major League Baseball is because of the implementation of technology and high tech training and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's just basic body movement. It's understanding your body and understanding strengths and weaknesses. And so that's kind of what I help all my players identify and and try to help them with.
If a parent or coach or even a player happens to see this, or they want to get to know more information about your company and want to maybe get a training session or two in with you, how would they go about doing that?
You can email me at pitchingperformancehawaii@gmail.com, or you could give me a call at 808-352-0478. So, go ahead and just give me a call, reach out. Right now, summer is kind of ramping up, so give me a call soon.
Well, as we talked about all these things that you've been doing, of course, you work with Spectrum Sports, part of the analysts, part of the pregame, postgame crew, but to get to work with guys like a Scott Robbs or a Sam Spangler, you see Canole, Pal Eldridge, you mentioned Madanoy, your former battery mate at Mid-Pacific, to work with all of these guys and just to get to go to the ballpark and just talk baseball. How much fun do you have?
I have a lot of fun. But the names that you had mentioned, Scott, Tal, Kanoa, Sam, I mean, they make a hack like me sound really intelligent at times. So they make my job really, really easy. Even the crew at Spectrum, everybody from Dan and Candice and everybody down. I'm, again, like we kind of talked about earlier, is that I'm afforded a different perspective of the game of baseball, and I get to fall in love with baseball all over again. I get to look at it from a different perspective, if you will. And so, but believe it or not, my most, I guess, cool sports media story that I've gotten was that I got to work in the booth with Don Robbs, with Scott's dad, a couple of times, and that was super cool, man. Just watching a vet do that, and it was in his last season that Scotty couldn't fill in. He was off doing volleyball or something, and so I jumped in the booth, and just to see somebody from that era, just that's a craftsman. That's not just somebody who is a play-by-play guy. That's somebody who has dedicated their lifetime to a craft. And man, that was awesome. And just seeing like how like he had his rosters taped up on the windows, he had his blow up roster lineup on the table, and I'm just like, I couldn't even begin to know what he's looking at. And like he's just talking like he's having a conversation, and it's like, man, this guy's a pro.
Last one for you here, Harry. We know that the MLB draft is coming up next month. Who do you think from this UH baseball team that they are draft eligible? Mm-hmm. Who do you see getting picked up in maybe the first, 10, 15, maybe 20 rounds? Which pitchers do you think have a very good shot from Hawaii?
The guys that have a good shot are going to be Aaron Davenport, obviously, and Cade Halemanu. And this is the weird thing. Watching Cade throw at the very beginning of the year, I mean, it was like, he touched 91, touched 90. And then all of a sudden in the middle of the year, he's like touching 96. And I'm just like, what? Like this, I've never seen that. Like just a guy to make a small mechanical adjustment mid-season. I won't bore you guys with all the jargon and all that, but made a small tweak to his delivery, and now all of a sudden, he's sitting 93, he's up to 96, and all of his other things. He had a really good changeup, or he has a really good changeup, and so because of the increased velocity, the changeup plays way better because now the separation of velocity is a lot greater. So I don't know, man. Because Davenport, first 6 weeks of the season, I thought for sure that guy was going to be the first guy drafted. Now I'm not too sure. Cade Halemanu's got a pretty decent chance to to be the first guy taken off the board. And it's the body, you know, he's big, he's strong, he's, you know, 6'4". Davenport's about 6 feet, 6'1". But Cade is, you know, he looks like a major league pitcher. You know, that's what they kind of draw him up as. So would be very interesting. I think you know, I don't know if they'll get drafted, but I hope Adam Fogel gets a shot, whether it's a free agent deal or whatever. You know, I would have said Alex Beza, but Beza down the stretch got hurt, so I don't know if anybody's going to want to go and offer him. Another guy that kind of interests me is Cole Kaler. You know, a guy who has one really good tool. He always puts the bat on the ball, and he runs pretty well, especially being a shortstop. So that's a guy that I'm kind of on the fence about. I like him as a prospect, but doesn't matter what I think. It matters what one of the 30 Major League Baseball teams think.
Harry, we could talk about baseball for the rest of this day, but unfortunately our time has run out. This has been so much fun. Thanks again for joining us today. We really appreciate you having you on today. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me. Always fun.
For Harrison Kuroda, as well as the rest of us here at ESPN Honolulu, I'm Tiff Wells saying thank you so much for joining us here on the 35th edition of ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Talk Story. Until next time, wear that mask, stay safe, and be socially distant.
And get vaccinated.
You've been listening to ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Talk Story, brought to you by Hardware Hawaii, Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union, and Spectrum Mobile.